Beastmaster 2 is really one of my earliest movie-going experiences. It's kind of funny to think that, but Highlander 2 actually got me thinking quite a lot on all the movies I used to watch as a kid, and when I started thinking of really, really bad sequels, and I'm talking like, there's bad sequels all over the place, of course, but when I'm talking like sequels that just immediately and hilariously completely derailed any possible momentum a promising series might have had, I was like, well, Beastmaster 2, of course, Jesus, what was I thinking? And it's funny because one of my favorite movies is Conan the Barbarian, which is another movie that pretty much got torpedoed by Conan the Destroyer. I think I make a dig at Conan the Destroyer in this one, which is a really, really bad movie. It's nowhere near as bad as Beastmaster 2, of course. And even in Conan the Destroyer, they didn't radically reshift the entire paradigm and setting of the story. It's not like they put Conan in modern Los Angeles. But I actually saw Beastmaster before I saw Conan, which is why I kind of have a soft spot for that movie as well. It's not a great movie, and it's not as good as Conan the Barbarian, just in terms of, it probably just comes down to budget. If Beastmaster had the budget and time spent, it probably would have been on par with Conan the Barbarian. It really is almost the same story when you come down to think about it, except for the animals part, which is a big part. But you know what I mean. It's about a guy whose village is slaughtered by an evil warlord, an evil religious, theocrat. So, he works out, he trains, and he finally seeks out his revenge on this evil religious dude. And that's about it. I mean, there's animals, of course, which actually is what I think puts Beastmaster over Conan in many ways. I mean, there's not quite the literary background that Conan has, but even the Conan movie didn't really take into account much in the way of Howard's original work. In fact, I think most fans of Howard's work are pretty well horrified by Conan the Barbarian, the movie. Just because they're like Thulsa Doom wasn't like that, Conan wasn't like that. You know what I'm saying. But Beastmaster had, like I said, had a lot going for it because it was a good flick. And really it did bring this world to life. I thought it really did. It really is like those Boris Vallejo paintings where you've got these incredibly muscled men and women not wearing a whole lot and doing really heroic things with evil monsters and stuff like that. It really is like a Boris Vallejo picture kind of brought to life, because seriously, almost nobody in this fucking movie wears anything. Tanya Roberts essentially prances around in nothing more than a very, very small white loincloth and almost like 2 pieces of cheesecloth taped over her boobs. It's just like the bare minimum. And there's boobs all over this movie, which I was very young when I saw this one, so it rapidly became one of my favorites. You know what I'm saying? But it was great. And so when I'm talking like my first reaction to this movie, when I talk about the poster, and you're like, let's just pretend you had no preconceptions of Beastmaster 2, and I saw the poster and I go, oh fuck, the car, what the fuck? That was pretty much my immediate reaction when I saw this movie. So like I said, when I was a kid, I saw Beastmaster 1, I was like, that was a great flick. So we go to Blockbuster Video, and they would always have this thing for, like, I think it was you pay for 2 videos, you get 1 free. So we always did this thing. My brothers and I would go to Blockbuster, and we'd all get 1. And so that was my reaction. I went to Blockbuster, and I saw Beastmaster 2, and I was like, oh, wow, Beastmaster 2, they made a sequel? I didn't know that. So, like, that's my little kid voice in my sickness. Oh, wow. But I picked up Beastmaster 2, and it didn't look anything like fucking Beastmaster 1. Like, I didn't know who Carrie Wurr is. It had Mark Singer in it, but there was like a fucking car, and there was like the portal. It looked like the Star Trek portal. But I was still really hyped up. I was a kid, so I pretty much liked anything. And I liked Beastmaster 2. I did. But here's the thing, though. And this might be kind of a historical thing. Beastmaster 2 is probably the first movie I ever enjoyed ironically. That kind of, pretty much all the movies I like now are movies I enjoy because they're bad. Cinema Snob is a lot like that as well. Birdemic is like that, where you know a movie is terrible, but you still really enjoy it. And I didn't really start enjoying bad movies until I was about 16 or so, when I first saw Mystery Science Theater. But this was a movie, as a kid, I liked everything. I just, it didn't matter. I was a kid. I was really easy to please, you know. As long as it had kind of action and goofiness in it, I was like, that was a pretty good movie. It didn't waste my time. You kind of have to. It takes years to build up the amount of jadedness I have when it comes to movies, so I'm very proud of it now. But I think the first movie I really, really hated as a kid was Super Mario Brothers. I hated that flick as a kid. I was so disappointed by that movie. But this movie I saw probably before Super Mario Brothers, but I loved it, but I was like, that movie was terrible. You guys got to see this. And so my older brother was horrified. He was, you know, like I said, he's my older brother's like, at that time, he was very critical of movies as well, so that's maybe where I got it. But, you know, my brother was like, this is horrible. This is sacrilege. And I was like, it's funny, though. Look at the boobs on that chick. Wow, that's amazing. I never remembered Sarah Douglas's incredible rack in this movie. I don't mean to be a pig here, but oh my God, she is smoking hot in this movie. Like, oh my Lord. I'm sitting there watching this movie for the first time in 15 years, and I see her saunter out in that cave girl outfit or whatever the fuck she's wearing, and I'm like, whoa. I missed like 10 minutes of that movie. I had to back up and actually pay attention to the movie because I was literally just ogling those boobs like crazy. I'm serious. Like, I have a pulse, you know? You can't just throw that at me and do this. But this was, off the subject of gigantic boulders. This was the first thing I thought of when I saw those big fake styrofoam boulders. And actually, I think the styrofoam boulders in MXC looked better. Oh my God. Jeez, sorry, I get distracted. I gotta stop looking at the screen. Where was I? Wow, I have completely. Wow. I'm sorry. I'm kind of struggling for words at this moment. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. Yeah, that was embarrassing. I better cut this out. Remind me to cut this out. But I remember the funniest thing about the villain, I think the biggest missed opportunity of this one was the villain here, in terms of the review. When I saw the villain, he actually reminded me a lot, and I mean this in the best way possible. I mean, no offense. Oh, this? If it really looks like I'm hitting my head against the door, I'm not. This is why having long hair helps. And actually, I'm a big believer in the Jackie Chan. The reason Jackie Chan has his hair as long as it does is because, sorry, I just knocked the table. The reason Jackie Chan has really long hair is because when you take a hit and you kind of thrash your head around and the hair goes everywhere, it looks like that hit is fucking painful. You know what I mean? So, like, when somebody has short hair or no hair like Jason Statham and they get hit, you kind of have to rely on the sound effects. But when Jackie gets hit and that hair whips back, you are like, whoa, he really got fucking clocked. Oh yeah, if you didn't know, Sarah Douglas was Ursa in Superman 2. I tried to make that as clear as possible, but I don't know if I succeeded in that score. Anyway, the way I do, it actually is a little trick I do, and I don't know if it's that well known. It's people are really impressed when I do that, and it's not all I do is you kind of thrash your head forward, you miss the door, but you kind of at the same time you bang your foot against the door. I can't believe that people don't even really know that trick. It's so elementary to me. I make it look good, I guess. Anyway. Yeah, this was very Sliders. In fact, the visual effect almost looks like Sliders, where they come rocketing out of this portal. And the fact Carrie wears it, I wonder if that was ever brought up to Carrie. I actually don't. This was probably way before Sliders. In fact, I'm almost certain it was. But Sliders was one of my favorite TV shows. And I won't dwell on this too much. Just like Highlander is kind of my soft spot for movies, Sliders is kind of my soft spot for TV shows. And the reason for that, and I'll explain it in a minute, because everyone has the same complaint when I bring up Sliders. And that complaint is the show largely sucked. Yes, I agree. It did largely suck. After like the second season, starting with the third season, that show sucked hard. I mean, it sucked really hard. And I agree with you. But the first two and a half seasons, up until John Rhys Davies departed the show, are some of the best televised science fiction in history. I was so enthralled by Sliders for the first 2.5 years on the Sci-Fi Channel, when the Sci-Fi Channel actually put on decent sci-fi, that I was just enthralled. John Rhys Davies was amazing in that show. I loved every single thing about that, and I think Brad Jones, his is Manimal, So I don't think we make any attempt to defend our favorite shows as being anything other than largely crap, but it's so much fun. You know what I mean? The Sliders was so much goddamn fun that every week they would come to a new world. It was speculative fiction. I love speculative fiction. And it was just a blast. It was so much fun but then you started realizing at the end of, basically when the professor left, you could really tell they had run stone cold out of ideas. They were just out, and that's really the story of Sliders. For the first 2.5 years, they had a ton of great ideas, and then they just kind of ran out, and it's really not worth watching once the professor leaves. And unfortunately, that's when Carrie Ward joined the cast, was when the show really started to suck. But if you want my advice, just watch the first 2 seasons, really. And actually, the first part of the 3rd season is pretty good, but I love this one. I should talk about the movie at some point. One of the biggest plot holes of the movie is that the villain's plan makes no sense. Like, the witch... she's like, if you really want to rule this world and you want to stop the rebellion, you got to get this neutron detonator, which has the power to destroy an entire world, or destroy an entire continent. It's essentially like they kind of waffle between that. Like, she says it destroys an entire continent, but the military guy, the guy who designed the bomb, is like, the whole world's kablooey. So I don't know. It's a doomsday device, whatever. But they try to broadcast this message, like some kind of nuclear proliferation message in this movie, where they go like, she's like, but that's how people in this modern Earth do things. It's called balance of terror. It's called mutually assured destruction. And Arklon looks very philosophical, and he goes, and they call us barbarians, or something, something like that. And I'm like, oh shit, fuck you. But my problem with this is, like, okay, let's say he gets this bomb. Let's say everything goes according to plan. He gets this fucking bomb, and he brings it back to Iraq. Yeah, it's Iraq. And let's say he's got this weapon, and he goes up in front of these people. He goes on top of his ziggurat, and he holds this bomb up, and he goes, "Everyone, Arklon commands your loyalty. I have this bomb which will destroy everything." How is he going to make that clear to what are essentially a bunch of cavemen? These guys are primitives. They have no concept of nuclear bombs. They have no concept of destruction on that wide a scale. And until you actually demonstrate such destruction, as we had done with our atomic bombs, that we had tests, we actually deployed one in use. And I'm not defending that in any way, but that really burned a permanent... it seared this memory of complete and utter just annihilation into our consciousness. Everyone knows what a nuclear bomb does, but these people in Iraq have no concept. That's Uncle Phil, by the way. You could tell these cavemen, I have this canister which will wipe out an entire continent, so obey me or else. So, like, what was his plan in case they called his bluff? Was he really going to just blow it up? And besides that, how are these people even going to understand that this thing does what he says it does? Until it's demonstrated. He could have held up anything. He could have held up a fucking ice bucket and been like, "This is a magic ice bucket. It'll destroy everything." And and besides that, it kind of looked like Arklon pretty much had the rebellion in hand. I gotta tell you the truth. But whatever. This movie sucks. This was where I pretty much lost my patience with the movie, with the swishy French gay. Okay, I don't want to judge that he's gay, but he pretty much is gay. This complete and utter stereotype, which you still see in movies. I have no idea why they think people act this way, but what kills me about this one is the fact he has a little handkerchief that he kind of limp-wristedly swishes around, And I really did think my first thought really was Beverly Hills Cop with Bronson Pinchot. I kind of wanted to cut more bits of Bronson Pinchot, like, what is it pertaining? Pertaining, meaning, what is it regarding? A lot of people have taken this as a cue that Dr. Insano was gay. If you want to interpret it that way, I don't know. Although I would disagree with you in the sense that I'm not going to tell you, but I would disagree with you in the sense that Dr. Insano has gone on record to say he loves the Suicide Girls. So I think we can confirm at least he proclaims to like chicks. I don't know. I always like to think of Dr. Insano as kind of sexually dubious in terms of like the way we were going to do it was when we were going to have the nurse on camera. The nurse was going to be all infatuated with him, but he was just too dense to really recognize it. He was so engrossed in science, he's almost asexual. You know, he almost has no interest in sex because he has science to do, you know, but I don't know. It's really not a discussion worth getting into. Don't know why I bothered. So to go back to a topic I abandoned previous. Oh God, why do? There was. I have to abandon the topic again. One time I remember Benzai was on Twitter, and he was actually kind of upset. Somebody accused him of being gay on Twitter, or made some comment about how his general persona is gay, and Benzai was like, "Why, dude? Why do people think I'm gay? Like, what? Like, I'm so not gay. Why do people think that? I do Let's Fap. I do all these things. I'm totally hetero." And the first response to that question was a link to that little dancing video where he essentially says, "My name's Benzai, and you know that I like kissing guys." And he's like, "Oh, sorry, yeah." Okay, so to go back to the topic I abandoned twice, this Arklon dude, really reminded me of another actor that I have not met, but I've seen in Press Start, Ed Glazer's Press Start and Press Start to Continue. His name's Peter Davis, and he plays Count Vile. And like I said, I don't mean to insult Peter Davis, who is he's a fantastic actor, but the general look and intonation of this character, the performance, that was gratuitous. He reminded me a lot of Peter Davis. Not Peter Davis. He reminded me of Count Vile. That's what it kind of reminded me of. And I told Ed Glazer this, and I was like, "Have you seen Beastmaster 2?" And he goes, No, I ordered it, but they gave me Deathstalker 2 by mistake. And I'm like, you gotta watch this movie, because the villain reminds me so much of Peter Davis, and I would really love to get him in a cameo if it's at all possible. Like, if he has an appearance fee, I'll pay it. But I want to get Peter Davis in a cameo in some really ridiculous hair extensions, kind of doing the Arklon thing, which would have been amazing. I still say it would have been amazing. And it's not too late. Ed, if you're listening, you get Peter on the phone and see if he's interested in doing this at all. I know I'm a big admirer seriously, I'm a huge admirer of his work. I even listened to his stuff in Descent Free Space. I even played Descent Free Space over again just so I could hear Peter Davis's I think it was Free Space 2. I played both those games over again anyway, just so I could hear his work. But I would love to get him in as Arklon, as like a villain of the week for one of these videos. Like I said, I'm a big fan. Seriously, I bow down to you. This was the hardest part of writing the video, was what was my reaction to this going to be, where they drove past Beastmaster 2 in theaters. At first I was gonna play it like I was just kind of amused by it, where I was just kind of like, I have nothing to add to that, but I felt I should kind of play it up because this is never done. What you're seeing right now, where they drive past their own movie, I have never seen that before, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason that's never done, but yeah. So yeah, that was probably the biggest struggle of this video, was coming up with what to say about that one. And I think I just kind of go, This part slays me, where he just walks into a maximum security area with that fucking leather patch over his face and people salute him. It's argued that, well, it's not argued, but it is a fact that I cut out this scene in the I probably didn't mention this in the movie, but there's a scene where Arklon, he realizes he doesn't know shit about Colonel Sanders. He doesn't know shit about the modern world. So what he does is he picks up a military officer at a bar, and takes him into a back alley and knocks him out, and then uses his magic to steal his memories. A power which, by the way, was never mentioned he possessed before. He just all of a sudden grabs this guy's head and he's like, "Your memories are mine. I know everything you know." And so that's how he knows how to drive a Jeep. That's how he knows the security codes to the base. You know, all that, and he steals his uniform. But that still doesn't explain how everyone in the fucking military base sees this weirdo they've never seen before, wearing a uniform of a guy who is clearly not him, who looks nothing like the guy he mugged, and they just kind of wave him in. So I guess you have to argue just a wizard did it. I don't know. Oh, and yes, I did make a Portal joke there. And this coming just about the week after in my vlog, I said that Portal jokes were played out. Haven't you noticed yet that I am a complete raving lunatic and hypocrite? Because you should. It's okay when I do it, okay? It's funny when the Spoony one makes the joke. When you do it, it's played. Oh, come on. It's fun. Bite me. This... I don't know what Arklon is thinking. He's got this bomb with a counter coming down from a half hour. Oh, somebody told me that the reason the bomb... You're probably right. I'm too lazy to go back and look. But the reason the bomb has a 30-minute timer when he takes it out of the lab is that when Arklon broke into the lab, the scientists had activated the bomb as like a testing feature, like they were testing the timer, and he stole it just as he was activating the timer. So he had a half hour. This effect, I should have riffed more on this effect, because this effect is so fucking stupid. I cannot believe they rolled with it. He's like green screened and 50% composited over this footage of like clouds. It's actually worse than the effect in the Dungeon Master, and that's hard to do. In fact, most of the effects in this movie, this one included, were he's just jogging in place. The fuck? I can't believe that. That's amazing. Almost all the effect, like my effects, and I'm not even saying that in terms of irony, my effects are better than this, and they suck. I guess that's a factor of how, the much more accessible technology we have today, but that's pretty sad when in 10 minutes I can whip together a more convincing effect than they can. I could do that effect where he falls into a pit better than that. I wouldn't have even shown that. Where, oh yeah, I should mention, Warrior 4 is probably going to be a couple months out because there's a lot of things going into it, and it's going to be a while before Warrior 4. So there's going to be stuff before that, but yeah, Warrior 4 is coming. It's going to be the big finale to that entire series. I'm rambling a lot in this video, but it's okay. I'm sick. I just picked like the first 4 random props I could out of the closet. That's a Big Trouble in Little China glasses that a fan got me, my clown afro, and my Star Trek uniform, which is always my go-to weirdness thing. I would like to do someday like a Sliders type of review. I still might, where I go back and talk about Sliders in its entirety, especially its horrible downfall after the professor leaves. But yeah, special thanks to Benzai and Linkara for appearing as their short cameos. This was a lot of fun, and people have asked if I'm going to do Beastmaster 3. I honestly don't know, because I'll tell you the truth, I've never seen Beastmaster 3. It's only available on VHS. I probably will go pick it up. But the thing is, I've heard it's not as bad. It's not nearly as bad as Beastmaster 2, but I'll probably still give it a look. And I haven't seen the show either, but I'll give them a look and let you know. Oh, yeah, I also had this bit planned out where we go the what the fuck boom thing. I had this written in the script as I kind of hit on it like 3 times, because they actually do like several fake outs where he enters in a code and it doesn't work. He enters in another code and it doesn't work. And he enters in a third code and the timer stops at like 1 second. And then I go, so like after each one of those I was like, what the fuck, boom. And so I decided just to do it one time. I also couldn't really think of many Uncle Phil jokes to make, even though he's in this movie. He's really just kind of a peripheral character whose main gimmick is he kind of bashes on the Jimmy Olsen-looking guy with a bow tie. He's like, this is all your fault, Jenkins, and, he keeps letting Dar go and escape, but... Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed Beastmaster 2. This was a lot of fun to make.